There are moments in life where things don't just break. You feel as if the very ground is being pulled out from under your feet. Not because you did something wrong, nor because fate is cruel, but because your soul has reached a point where the old can no longer sustain you. The pain here does not function as an enemy, but as a precise demolition force that only tears down what no longer serves your deep growth. It's like an old room filled with heavy furniture, gathering years of silent suffering, dust. It must be completely emptied before any new light can enter. Jung says that when the psyche reaches the limits of its endurance, an internal dismantling process begins, resembling a small death. Not so you disappear, but so that you may be reborn in a way the conscious mind cannot plan. In those moments when you feel completely lost, something subtle happens. The psyche rearranges its energy, moving what is static and filtering out what is false. Here begins the spiritual demolition, which looks like destruction from the outside, but is actually a sacred preparation for a new phase of your existence. Pain is not a collapse, but a reset. It is not an end, but the beginning of a future that could not be born except after the collapse of the old structures within you. The universe only demolishes to build what is truer, wider, and more capable of holding the version you are destined to become. And in the depth of the silence left by the pain, your true features begin to emerge, those that were hidden behind layers of compromise, patience, and adaptation. The reflection at the end of the chapter. Sometimes the path to your authentic self is paved with the ruins of your old life. In the depths of the psyche, processes occur in complete silence, far from conscious awareness, but they change your life from the roots. Carl Jung saw that pain is not a passing event, but an encrypted message from the depths, and that every shock, loss, or collapse carries a wisdom that the mind alone cannot comprehend. From the perspective of depth psychology, the psyche does not allow for unnecessary suffering. Everything has a meaning, even if it is vague and harsh at first. Jung says that the psychological system works according to the principle of compensation. When something collapses in your consciousness, something else begins to form in the unconscious as a balancing force. It is as if the soul, in a moment of breakage, builds in the background what it needs to return stronger. The secret alchemy is unseen, but constantly at work, changing your visions, moving your dreams, and slowly pushing you toward a deeper realization of yourself. In the peak of pain, when you feel fragile, new walls of strength are formed within you. Not harsh strength, but soft strength, stemming from understanding the power that comes from knowledge, not defense. Gradually, you begin to see that what you went through was not futile, and that every wound carried the seed of transformation. The psyche does not break you to hurt you, but to free you from something you are holding onto unknowingly. The deep dream of the soul teaches us that every suffering holds the seed of healing, and that what collapses externally is just the shell, while what is built internally is a new essence, truer, more balanced, and more capable of facing life without losing yourself. Concluding reflection. The deepest acts of healing happen in the dark, before we can see them in the light. There's a kind of pain that does not come to punish you, but to reshape your boundaries from within. It is a pain that shatters the old image you held of yourself. Even those moments when you thought you were done, that you could not go on, are actually the first birth moments of a new self. Pain is not a break. It is a burning boundary, dissolving.
The breath that returns to being calm, the thought that ceases to be a prison, the tear that is no longer despair but acceptance. I want you to stay with me until the end of this video because you will discover what Carl Jung called the point of integration, the moment when everything you have lived, suffered, and endured finally aligns and begins to gain meaning. In the end, you will understand how to apply these signs in your own life to live with greater clarity, peace, and purpose. But before that, I want to ask you a question. How many times have you blamed yourself for still feeling pain? How many times have you thought you were regressing when in reality you were just deepening the process? Healing is not a straight line, it is a spiral. Sometimes you return to old pains only to realize that they no longer control you, and that in itself is healing. So as you listen to every word from now on, allow yourself to recognize the signs you were ignoring, the small details that prove that without realizing it, you were walking towards the light. There might be exhaustion, yes, there might be painful memories, but your mere presence here, listening, thinking, trying to understand, is proof that something inside you has not given up. And before we move on to the first sign, let me ask you for something simple yet important. If this topic has meaning for you, if it affects you in some way, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. The upcoming videos will guide you to greater depths in the journey of self-knowledge and inner healing. And if you feel this content can help others, leave a like. Not for vanity, but so that this message reaches those who are most in need of hearing it. It is part of a chain of goodness that starts with a simple gesture. Now, take a deep breath, close your eyes for a moment, and ask yourself, what if I have already healed in ways I can't see yet? Because maybe, just maybe, your healing is not in what you lack, but in what has already begun quietly within you. And this is exactly what we will discover together from now on. Get ready, because the first sign that you are more healed than you think is at the same time the simplest and the most liberating of all signs. The first sign that you are more healed than you think is that you no longer chase what once hurt you. Previously, there was an almost desperate need to understand, find answers, and fill the gaps left by people and situations that left without explanation. You wanted to understand why they distanced themselves, why life suddenly changed, and why the story ended this way. And perhaps deep down, you hoped that understanding was the same as healing. But time, this silent teacher, was teaching you something that books don't mention. Not everything that hurts needs an answer. And perhaps this is the first great miracle of healing, when the need for closure Neuroscience reveals an astonishing truth. About 95% of our daily actions, thoughts, and decisions stem from programs stored in our subconscious mind. You are consciously steering your ship only 5% of the time. For the remaining 95%, the autopilot is in charge. That is, your subconscious mind. Herein lies the problem. How is this subconscious mind programmed? It was programmed through every experience you've had in your life, especially those charged with strong emotions. Every moment you felt fear, shame, sadness, or rejection was recorded as a program in your internal operating system. Your body has become chemically addicted to these emotions. When you think about a past painful experience, your brain releases the same chemicals it released in the past, and your body starts feeling the same emotions again. Your inner state, the signal you broadcast, has become a prisoner of the past. This is why your efforts at conscious change often seem like a losing battle. You are trying to change your reality using 5% of your conscious mind, while 95% of your subconscious mind is powerfully broadcasting the signal of the past, a signal that says, "I'm not good enough, I don't deserve success, the world is a scary place." Thus, you are trapped in a vicious cycle. You think about your problems, so you feel negative emotions related to them. These emotions make you think in the same way, and this thinking reinforces the same emotions. Your identity has become linked to this state of being. You are not just experiencing negative emotions, you have become those emotions. And when you broadcast this signal to the universe, what do you expect it to reflect back to you? More circumstances that match the same frequency. To change your reality, you must break this cycle. You must overcome the state of addiction to past emotions and reprogram the mind that broadcasts the signal, your subconscious mind. Now that you understand you are constantly broadcasting a signal, and this signal often originates from past programs stored in your subconscious mind, how do you consciously begin to change it? Here we move from understanding the problem to applying the solution, and this is where the quantum field comes in. Imagine the universe as a vast, super-intelligent mirror. This mirror does not judge you or favor one person over another. Its only function is to accurately reflect the image you present to it. This image is not your words or wishes, it is your energetic signature, your vibrational frequency, which your DNA broadcasts at every moment. This is the principle of resonance in its simplest form. Like attracts like. The quantum field is not empty, it is a sea of infinite possibilities. Your task is to choose a specific possibility through your frequency, and the field will organize energy, matter, and events to make that possibility a physical reality for you. And here we reach one of the most wonderful principles of quantum physics, the observer effect. In the famous experiment known as the double-slit experiment, scientists discovered that subatomic particles, the basic building blocks of reality, behave completely differently when observed. When no one is watching them, they behave as a wave of possibilities, existing everywhere at the same time. But the moment an observer directs attention to them, they collapse from a state of probability wave into a physical particle in a specific time and place. What does this mean for you? It means your consciousness, your focused attention, and your concentrated emotions are the most powerful creation tools you possess. When you focus your attention and energy on a future you desire and feel the emotions of that future as if it is happening now, you are acting as the observer. You are selecting a possibility from the quantum field and giving it the necessary energy to transform into reality.
We're seeking a life that does not falsify you. In this integration, you learn compassion toward yourself. Pain did not come to punish you, but to reveal that you do not need to be perfect to be worthy of love, worthy of being you. When you integrate your shadow, everything changes. You become less exploitable, more stable, truer, freer. Wholeness does not come from the light alone, but from the light that shines after you admit the depth of your darkness. We're not going to falsify you in this integration, but
We're seeking a life that does not falsify you. In this integration, you learn compassion toward yourself. Pain did not come to punish you, but to reveal that you do not need to be perfect to be worthy of love, worthy of being you. When you integrate your shadow, everything changes. You become less exploitable, more stable, truer, freer. Wholeness does not come from the light alone, but from the light that shines after you admit the depth of your darkness. Concluding sentence. We do not grow when we overcome pain, but when we understand what it was trying to reveal in us. When a person crosses the phase of deep pain, they emerge with a presence entirely different from what they had before. It is a presence that cannot be faked or imitated, a presence born from the ashes, just as the phoenix is born. It is not a loud strength, but a quiet, steady strength emanating from an inner center that has become more stable than any external noise. This new presence does not appear suddenly, but forms slowly, like water carving rock. It forms when a person realizes they no longer need to convince anyone, prove their worth to anyone, or defend themselves in every small battle. Pain teaches humility, but it also teaches steadfastness. And here the magical paradox happens. The less you seek acceptance, the more your inner prestige increases. The calmer you are, the deeper your voice becomes, even in your silence. Jung confirms that true strength is that which comes from self-knowledge, not from controlling others. After passing through the tunnel of darkness, you fully understand this meaning. Your presence becomes an unspoken message that says, I have faced myself, so nothing outside of me frightens me. In relationships, everything changes. You begin to distinguish who sees your truth from who only wants a comfortable version of you. You no longer respond out of fear or need, but out of clarity. You draw closer to people who expand your soul and move away from those who consume it without feeling any guilt. It is a stage where your heart becomes deeper, but your boundaries are clearer. Your mind becomes calmer, but your vision is sharper. And the most wonderful thing is that you no longer cling to noise, neither the noise of the world, nor the noise of your old thoughts. Silence becomes a friend, not an adversary, and solitude becomes a sacred space, not a punishment. You find yourself smiling in moments where you used to cry, breathing deeply in places that choke you, and feeling an inner spaciousness you never experienced before. This is the transformed presence, the presence of a person who passed through the fire and did not burn, but became purer and clearer. Concluding sentence. You do not return as you were after the pain. You return closer to your truth than you imagined. After crossing the depth of pain, a new layer of consciousness begins to emerge. Not a sudden gift, but a natural result of the fire you passed through. Your awareness becomes more sensitive, truer, and more capable of seeing what remains hidden from most people. You feel as if you were living in a deeper layer of reality, a layer not seen by the eye, but touched by the heart. You begin to notice that small events are no longer random. There is a pattern, an invisible thread connecting experiences. The people you meet, the words you hear, the places you are led to, all carry meaning. Jung calls this synchronicity, moments that cannot be explained by coincidence, but by a soul moving through time. Before, you saw life as a series of separate events, but now, as if a curtain has been lifted, you see how the soul works in the background, how pain leads you to wisdom, and how light appears at the moment you are about to lose hope. The greater your inner clarity, the greater your ability to see these signs. As if the universe is speaking a new language, and you have become capable of understanding it. You realize that the old pain was not chaos, but precise preparation. It was silently building an inner receiver that makes you more capable of picking up subtle signals and more discerning of people, places, and the right path. Your intuition becomes stronger than the mind.
This is the state of internal conflict. You say you want abundance, but you feel fear of poverty. You say you want a healthy relationship, but you carry a feeling of unworthiness inside you. You think positive thoughts, but your body is stuck in negative past emotions. This dissonance creates a weak, scattered signal, like the light of a regular bulb spreading in all directions without focus. When you send a noisy signal, the quantum mirror reflects back a chaotic, confusing reality. Events seem random, results are unpredictable, and you feel out of control. This concept is not just spiritual philosophy, it is supported by advanced sciences like epigenetics. Scientists like Dr. Bruce Lipton have proven that our perceptions, beliefs, and emotions change the cellular environment, and this environment controls gene expression. This means you are not a victim of your genes. You can turn on genes that support health and abundance, or turn them off based on your inner state. Your perception of reality changes your biology, and your biology changes the signal you broadcast. This wisdom is not new. Ancient spiritual traditions have known it for thousands of years. The principle, as within, so without, is a cornerstone of many ancient philosophies. They understood that man is a microcosm of the universe, and the key to understanding the secrets of the universe lies in understanding the secrets of the self. When you achieve inner harmony, the external universe has no choice but to reflect that harmony. You don't change the world, you change yourself, and the world changes in response to you. So, how do we move from a state of dissonance to a state of harmony in our daily lives? What are the practical steps we can take to become conscious creators of our lives? The most important and most transformative step is not something you do, but a state of awareness you adopt, the practice of awareness without judgment. When most of us feel negative emotions like fear or anger, we do one of two things. Either we suppress them and pretend they don't exist, or we drown in them and completely identify with them. Both approaches keep us stuck. Suppression stores negative energy in the body, and identification reinforces the negative signal we broadcast. There is a third way, the path of the conscious observer. When a negative feeling arises, instead of resisting it or indulging in it, observe it. Notice it as if you are watching a cloud in the sky. Gently say to yourself, I am now aware of a feeling of anger within me. Notice where you feel it in your body. Is it a tightness in your chest or heat in your face? Observe it with curiosity, without judging it as good or bad. You are not this feeling, you are the awareness that observes the feeling. When you do this, something magical happens. As soon as you shine the light of your awareness on the feeling without resistance, it begins to dissipate. The trapped energy is released and dissolves. You are not fighting the darkness, you are turning on the light. This practice gradually restores your body to its natural state, to its original frequency, which is the frequency of love, peace, and tranquility. The goal is not to force yourself to feel positive. Artificial positivity creates more dissonance. The goal is to return to neutrality, to the 0 point, where you can consciously choose your inner state instead of being a reaction to external.
Circumstances, practices like meditation, focusing on breathing, and spending time in nature are all powerful tools that help you train this muscle of awareness. I invite you today to a simple experiment. For the next 24 hours, commit to being the observer of your emotions. When an uncomfortable feeling appears, stop for a moment. Take a deep breath. Notice the feeling without judgment. Do not try to change it. Just be present with it, and then allow it to pass. Share with us in the comments what your experience was like and what you noticed. This small step is the beginning of the biggest transformation in your life. It is the moment you stop being a slave to your emotions and begin to be the master of your inner world. It is perfectly natural to face challenges when starting this practice. You might find yourself asking, why am I not seeing immediate results? Why am I still suffering? I've started observing my emotions, but my life hasn't changed overnight. Here we must understand the nature of the quantum field. It responds to your continuous and stable frequency, not to a fleeting thought or an intermittent practice. Imagine you are trying to tune a radio station. You have to find the correct frequency and hold the dial there to hear the music clearly. If you keep moving the dial back and forth, all you will hear is static. Every moment you spend in a state of coherence and harmony is a moment you fix the dial on the frequency of your new reality. Every moment you return to doubt, fear, or impatience, you move the dial away from the station. Doubt is one of the strongest anti-creation frequencies. Doubt is energy that tells the universe, I don't really believe this is possible. It broadcasts a contradictory signal that cancels out the signal you are trying to consciously send. When you plant a seed, you don't go every day and dig up the soil and prod it to see if it has grown. You water it, provide it with sunlight, and trust that the growth process is happening beneath the surface, hidden. Similarly, when you broadcast a new frequency, you must trust that the universe has received your signal and is reorganizing itself to match it. This process requires building what we can call energetic muscle. Just like going to the gym, you won't see results from one workout. You need continuity and practice. Every time you choose to return to a state of inner peace, instead of being swept away by external drama, you strengthen this muscle. Every time you notice a negative emotion and allow it to pass without possessing you, you are retraining your body and mind into a new state of being. Remember, you are not trying to control the results. The attempt to control stems from the ego, from fear. Your task is not to control how and when your new reality will appear. Your task is to maintain a state of inner harmony. Be responsible for your frequency and leave the details of its realization to the infinite intelligence of the universe. Faith here is not blind belief. It is a deep knowledge based on an understanding of these cosmic laws. It is the confidence that when you play your role, which is managing your inner world, the universe will surely play its role, which is reflecting this inner world in the form of your outer reality. Be patient with yourself. You are shedding years, perhaps decades of unconscious programming. Be gentle with yourself in this process. Every step, no matter how small, is a victory. We have completed a deep journey together. We began with the feeling that we are victims of our circumstances and ended with the realization that we are the powerful architects of our reality. Let us summarize the basic principles that will be your compass on this transformative journey. First, you are not a separate entity from the universe. You are an integral part of it. Your DNA is not just a biological code. It is a cosmic antenna, a bridge connecting your consciousness with the fabric of reality.
The moment when the mind stops punishing the heart and the heart stops blaming the mind, you begin to accept that anger does not negate your love, that sadness does not mean your weakness, and that courage does not deny your fear. Every feeling you rejected turns into a door. Every part you wanted to get rid of becomes a teacher. And when you reconcile with yourself at this depth, the storm you carried for years calms. You become more realistic and more compassionate at the same time. You no longer seek to be complete for others, but to be honest with yourself. You suddenly realize that peace is not the absence of pain, but harmony with it. Your inner peace no longer depends on circumstances, but on your ability to embrace everything that moves within you without resistance. And with this embrace, a new awareness opens. You see people from a different place because you have seen yourself with greater honesty. You empathize without justifying and understand without excusing the pain. You can stand in your light without denying your shadows, and in your shadows without being afraid of your light. This is true spaciousness, to become a person who is not divided inside, no matter how divided the world is around them. To stop striving to be a perfect version and allow yourself to be an authentic version. When the opposites within you reconcile, your entire existence transforms into a harmony that the world cannot break. There is a kind of gratitude that is not born from obvious blessings or visible successes, but is born from those moments when you thought you had reached your end. It is the gratitude that appears after the crying subsides, after all the lights go out, and after a person remains face to face with themselves, without masks, without justifying narratives, and without anything to prove their rigidity. This radical gratitude is unlike ordinary gratitude. It is the gratitude that a person can only learn when they break in a way that reveals depths they did not know existed. You slowly begin to realize that the pain was not your enemy, but a gateway to a part of you that you would not have met in easier circumstances. You feel that the losses you went through did not empty you as you thought, but purified you of excesses. And in moments of inner clarity, you discover that you have become deeper, slower to judge, and wider in your ability to understand. This gratitude extends to the past with all its heaviness, to the people who hurt you, to the roads that collapsed beneath your feet. Suddenly you realize that without those collapses, you would not have found the version of you who is now standing on their feet, the version who sees the world with more mature eyes. Even those moments you saw as dark, you begin to understand as precise steps in a shaping process. Radical gratitude does not deny the pain or cover it with a false smile. It is an acknowledgement that what was painful was also instructive, and that what seemingly destroyed you was rebuilding you internally. And with this understanding, your heart becomes more stable, because you no longer fear the experience. You have seen what pain does when allowed to perform its complete work. This gratitude creates a new relationship with life, a relationship that does not depend on what happens, but on what you extract from what happens. And you realize in a quiet moment that the journey was not meant to give you an easier life, but a soul more capable of embracing life. When you thank even the wound begins to turn into wisdom that resides in you instead of hurting you. There are moments in a person's life when they feel that the pain was not just a passing event, but something mysteriously written upon them, as if the path could only lead them through that very wound. In those moments, the usual questions stop.